Good morning and welcome to Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We are streaming everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about what is unwanted emotions. This is Wednesday Wellness, and thank you so much for joining us. Our saying has always been be well, get well, and stay well. We wish you wellness as you join us for our discussion on unwanted emotions. We're going to talk about it. Why? Because this is an interactive podcast. And if you're hearing it, we want you by all means to be able to join us live. Can you do that? We want you to be able to be live with us. Our direct connect is 888-721-9260. Welcome. What are unwanted emotions? As you know, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion has always had thoughts about feelings and emotions. Feelings and emotions. And what we're going to do is talk about those feelings and emotions. I want you to be able to understand that we all have them. We all have feelings, we all have emotions, and right now, when we think about our feelings and emotions, what comes to mind? What is it that really comes up when you think about your feelings, your emotions, and how you're dealing with it? We're going to talk about the unwanted emotions. Unwanted emotions are those experiences or emotions that you don't want. I want you to think about the feelings that you don't want. What are some of those feelings that you don't want? Now let's think about that. The unwanted feelings. Think about a time when you have felt something that you didn't want. Yeah, there's a whole list of unwanted emotions. Good morning, Trish.
Good morning.
Can you think of a unwanted emotions? And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, our lines are open for you. We need to be able to talk about unwanted emotions because these are the emotions that keep us sad, that bother us to the point where they physically start to affect us. Let's talk about it. Sadness has been felt by so many people. And the list goes on and on and on. But we need to experience the unwanted emotions because some of our unwanted emotions cause us physical pain. Let's today learn to well ourselves from the unwanted emotions. And we're going to talk about them. We're going to be brave today. We're going to learn that we don't have to have these unwanted emotions. I want to tell you how many, or ask you, how many of you have ever thought about anger? Mostly everyone that you've spoken to, everyone that you have dealt with in life has experienced an unwanted emotion of anger. You think about a time when something made you angry. When was the last time you were angry? You know, sometimes people feel that it's wrong to be angry, but it is a natural emotion. We need to be able to heal from that, get well from anger. Myself, I've dealt with a lot of anger. I can remember being my angriest when my firstborn nephew was killed. I was very angry. Do you remember the last time you were angry, Trish?
Yes, yes, I do.
What was that like for you? What was the experience that made you angry?
The experience that made me very angry was when an ex friend of mine got into it. We got into an argument and she made me upset because she said I did something that I didn't do and she tried my character, so that made me very upset. So that was the last time I got very angry. And I don't like to get angry, but that right there really made me upset.
Yeah, yeah. When you say you don't like to get angry, can you tell us what that means? That you don't like to get angry.
This is a deep one. I don't like to get angry means that I don't like the feeling of when I'm angry because to me I feel like it's an ugly picture of me when I'm angry, and I just don't like viewing myself as an angry person because I feel like I'm not. So that's why I don't like to get angry.
Thank you for that. When we're angry, you must think about what pushes us toward anger. What I want you guys to realize is that those are normal emotions, but yet we need to learn how do we heal from our anger, healing from anger. Because people can make you mad, things can make you angry, which is another word for that. And I want you to think about how does one come back from anger. because it takes work, and no one's anger is the same. There are depths of anger. If we don't control the depth of our anger, it can truly be detrimental to us mentally, emotionally, and physically. People do some horrible things because they were angry. And a lot of times the anger goes much more than just something surface. And so anger is something that we must heal. Even though we experience anger, we must heal. Fear. When you think of fear, there's so many word pictures that we think about. Scared, afraid, anxiety. We experience fear and the emotion. We all know what fear is like. Being afraid, feeling fearful. What are you fearful of? I'm fearful of rejection. I'm fearful of heights. I'm fearful of airplanes. I'm fearful of dogs I don't know. What are you fearful of, Trish? And those of you in the audience.
I am fearful of uncertainty, the unknown. I don't like going in a situation where I don't know where the outcome is happening. I have a fear of getting lost because I've gotten lost before. Don't like that. I'm like terrified of getting lost. And also, I have a phobia of like things like being spoiled, like spoiled milk, anything like bad. Like I have a phobia of that. Like it terrifies me. If I see just mold on an apple, that scares the daylights out of me. So those are the things that I'm scared of.
Thank you so much for that. So now when we have the feeling of fear, if we can think about the last time we felt fear, how did it affect you? Speaking to the audience. For fear, it makes my heart rush. It causes me anxiety, and it feels threatening. For me, that's fear. How about you, Trish? How does that make you feel? When you,
Fear, um, it's kind of weird for me, but when I get scared, I get angry. So it's like when I'm afraid of something, I get mad that that thing that I'm afraid of is there, and I get upset that um that it's approaching me. So I try to fight my way out of it. So that's how I get when I'm afraid, and also my heart races, my hands shake, I get sweaty when I'm afraid of something. So that's how you know I'm scared. That's how I know I'm scared.
so it takes away from peace, your peace, my peace, when you feel fear. Now, we are just talking about two things, and we need to understand that due to these feelings that we have faced, They don't add to wellness. There are some healthy fears, and you say, well, what is a healthy fear? In the Bible, it talks about the fear of Jehovah. And that fear is a wholesome respect for God's things and for what he says. That's wholesome. Or fear of saying the wrong thing. Because sometimes our tongue can really cut a person's heart, our words. And so we fear saying the wrong thing, and we respect ourselves and have boundary to think about what we want to say. When we think about the fear, it is unwell when we have fear that causes anxiety, fear that poses a threat to our well-being. Let's heal from that. Let's get wellness in you. Here's another one I thought of. When you lose someone that you want in your life, grief. When you lose someone that you have loved and you wanted in your life, how many people can you think of that you have lost in your life that you wanted in your life? Grief. Can you think of anyone, Trish?
Yes, I can think of quite a few people.
Yeah. Two of my nephews, my brother, grief, an overwhelming sadness. But now, does it always have to do with someone dying?
No,
What's another form of grief?
I'd say like um basically losing like a friend or something, not through death, but like you think they're close to you, but you lost them. You guys are no longer communicating or in a relationship with someone that
Yes,
ended.
loss of relationships. There are many people who are grieving those relationships. Thank you for that, Trish. So, because you are experiencing the feeling of grief or that experience of that loss, do you feel good about it? You be the judge. How about when we feel shame? Shame is always a feeling that is based on what you have been through. We talked about trauma earlier this week, but you've been through this, but now you have trauma, and sometimes it goes into unresolved feelings of embarrassment. Let's talk about it. Many women and some men too have been violated in a very sexual way, raped, harassed, sexually harassed, molestation, many people tie that into shame. And that shame goes into, I don't want anyone to know that this has happened. And sometimes we use this word shame as in shame on you. Let's think about that. What we could put on a person to make them feel unresolved, because when we say shame on you, what did they do? Have you ever done something and someone made you feel shame and you didn't know what it is that you did? Anybody ever felt like that? Well, I'll be the first one to say, when people try to make you feel that way, especially in relationships, shame. And we want to be careful with this because it really causes, again, unwellness. And today we are encouraging you to be get well and stay well. But there are so many people out there who are afraid. And that's why we have the healing center. They're afraid to discuss their shame. Nobody's ever going to come out and tell you that they were molested or they were raped or they were sexually abused. You know, it just doesn't come up unless you are ready to heal. Many people have walked around with the shame for many, many years. Today we're going to ask you to get those unresolved feelings in order so that you can talk about it. The Healing Center is open. We're going to invite you. The Healing Center is for use of people that need help. A lot of times we get referrals of people that we may think want to come, but don't force them. If you want to come, you come. Let the healing begin with you. Guilt. People have survivors guilt. I actually got a chance to look into survivors guilt. What is survivor's guilt? Anybody know? Survivor's guilt is, let's say that there has been a plane crash, some sort of disaster, and you survived it, but your friend, your neighbor, or whomever you felt close to did not. There are so many people that feel this type of guilt. It's called survivor's guilt, and we will do a podcast on just that alone. Or in a relationship, someone says, well, we didn't survive it because you did something. It's all your fault. Does that make you feel well? See, we can talk about all the physical sides and how it makes you feel: headache, throw up, nauseated, uh, chest pain, heart palpitations, but we're not doctors, and it certainly does affect us in different ways. Survivor's guilt is all about you being the person who survived while the next person that was next to you did not. You ask yourself, why? Why am I alive? Why did I survive and that they didn't? And you feel that when someone is close to you. Guilt. That feeling comes from what we do or what we do not. The guilt comes from, I should have, if only. I discovered something. When my firstborn nephew died, I was not only angry, but when I start working on the anger, I also had guilt. And I'll tell you why I have guilt. Because I always used to check on him. And I always used to just call him just to laugh or make him laugh or just be silly. And to make sure that he was not running around as the young people do. The night that he had been murdered, for some reason, the phone kept ringing, and I don't know what I was doing, but for whatever reason, I didn't answer. And that's not like me, but you know what? I'm going to say that maybe it was a protection for me at the time, but then at the same time, I think about maybe my nephew wouldn't have gone anywhere. And that's why every morning I always tell my kids, please watch your surroundings. I didn't get to say that to him on that Friday morning. I didn't get to do that. So I'm dealing with guilt. What if I would have? Guilt is not something that makes us feel any better, but it is something that needs healing. Did you all catch four things? These are the powerful things: anger, fear, grief, guilt, and yet so many, so many more. I had someone tell me a time where they felt lack of emotion. They felt like they couldn't cry, or they they didn't feel like they had emotion from being so traumatized. You know that's a form of apathy. Sometimes when we are stressed, when we have an exposure to stress, and I don't mean just paying a bill, I mean stress, where you are exposed to it for events that have happened to your life that cause you trauma. Your body begins to react to it overwhelmingly. In environments, sometimes we say that person has no remorse. How many of you have heard of that? No remorse.
I
Anybody ever
have.
hear? Yeah. And when do you usually hear that word? They had no remorse.
Like something that has to do with crime.
Yes. Yes. See, I love to watch like real crime stories. I love to watch police cam, all of that stuff. And when the people get in court, they say that. They want you to think about what that means. They don't show any emotion. And think about what I just said with the feeling of a lack thereof emotion, like a blank reaction.
I felt that before.
You felt that before? Tell us about that, Trish.
I felt it when my grandma passed away. I didn't really cry or anything. It was just like a blank feeling. It was like a fever dream. Like, did that actually happen? Because we just saw her a week ago. And just when that happened, it was like, wow, that that just happened. And even at the funeral, I didn't cry. I didn't cry. I was 14 years old, and I didn't really cry until I was like 20 years old from that. So I felt that before.
And so, as we see, it doesn't only come from feeling like the suspect may feel after they have committed a crime. There was no crime in what Trish was feeling. It was just prolonged her emotions. She had them, and it was somebody close to her. And so we can feel what is apathy or apathetic, that we're not, we're distant from the situation. We show no emotion. And in my line of clients, even having the healing center open, I've run or ran. I've spoken with so many people. Now, when we think about what goes with that, the numbness, these are people that can't express emotion. Going back to the courtroom, if you will, step inside in your mind and imagine someone harming your family member. They don't feel the way you felt about your family member. And some people, as we've seen, have gone into mad rage and there's been outbreaks in the court because the person showed no. We're not righting any wrongs here. But we do want you to know there is a reason for that. They don't love our family members or our loved ones the way we do. But that's why the court goes back into their history. Think about it. Because the person shows no emotion. Because if he were emotional, he wouldn't have committed that crime, or she wouldn't have committed the crime to begin with. But if you go back into history, their history, that's what the court does. You know, all the documents that the lawyers have, they go back into their history. It's just not a worksheet of all the crime you've ever committed. It's that and then some. They go into your uh, childhood, what you were like as a child at home, what the what you were like in the classroom. Were you a community person? And so they build for you a character. And I want you to know that these people have been through some horrible things. There's no excuse, but that's the truth. They just don't wake up one day and decide they don't like anybody. Something has happened, and this is why, ladies and gentlemen, we must keep ourselves well. Only you know if you're walking around with these unwell feelings. You must heal that. And the only way that you must heal that is by you saying, I want to heal this. The healing center is where you do that through workshop, through being able to look at what you've been going through, by you talking about it, through creative works or create uh, expression through art. We have the relaxation center. Why are we talking about emotions? Because sometimes we may have symptomatic things that contribute to our emotion that is an unwell or unwanted emotion. And that's why it's good. You know, a lot of people say they've been dealing with these things. There's still so much more. We talked about a few of them. But then when we think about uh, loneliness, jealousy, frustration, depression, and you can even build yourself a wall of negative feelings that you have. It's so important because people don't start to feel that way just overnight. And sometimes when occurrences happen in your lifetime, whether it be a loss of a loved one, whether it be uh, breakups, we got to really talk about this stuff, you know? We got to really stay away from when we are asked how are we doing, not to just say fine, because I want you to come a little closer to me. The mirror talk says, you're not fine. You've been carrying around what you needed to release. That's deep. It is not an easy thing to be able to release the negative emotions or the unwanted feelings. But I want you to draw butterfly wings today. And I want you in every crevice to write emotions that you need to let go. Because once you see it, you're able to look at it and you're able to understand that you have wings to fly. You can release it. Some people say, well, I don't know where to start. You know what I always say? Give me the first 5 things that bother you, that apply to you. And every time I do that, everybody's looks different. That's the beauty of us. You know, I love it when the healing program or the opening of the healing program, the video that you did, Trish, the one that when you're asking yourself, when will I heal? And then you make the statement of that healing is up to you. It's up to you to become well. Because we walk around with the unwanted. You know, when we don't want something, what do we do with it? You know, what do we do with it? If something you don't want, something not of use, something that is not purposeful, because sometimes we pass it down, right? But if it's of no use to you and you can't use it anymore, why pass it down when it's not going to be of use? Your emotions should not be passed down like it is a dress, a pair of pants, some old shoes, some hand me down. Your feelings should not be thrown away because you are valuable. You are a human being that needs to address every emotion. There are some families that don't talk about their emotions. And here's why. Because the generation from which they came from, whether it's you or me, may not be used to talking things out. And so you carry that. So what do you have? A generational wealth of unhealthy people if you continue that. How do we break that cycle of learning to free ourselves from unwanted emotions? We know that they happen, right? Some of our unwanted emotion has happened a lot in families. And here's why. Because we say, well, you know, you've had a lot of death in your family, right? You say that. We've heard that before. Do you think that those people need to talk about that? Because some of those deaths have been close in connection. They affect your heart. They affect how your heart functions. They affect your brain and your mindset. If you don't talk about it, if you don't cry about it, you will never free yourself. When you talk about it, do you think that it means that means forget about it, get over it? No. It means that you're managing it. It's still a very hard process for me knowing that my firstborn nephew was killed and he's no longer going to walk through the doors. He's no longer going to have that Kool-Aid smile that I look at. I had to come to the realization that his memory stays alive. That part. And there's nothing that anybody can do because those memories will stay with me forever. I see a smile. I see his goofiness. I can even at times listen to his voice. How do I do that? Memory. Memory. And I think about that memory and I hold that close to me because that is what's going to heal me. To take the best parts of the worst parts of my life and think, wow, this is going to make me strong. I'm no longer that angry person. I am what is a newfound butterfly that I can turn my Fridays around and I can do something and be aware, okay, this is Friday. You guys see how it affected me? That I hated when Fridays came after because it was always a reminder to me. Now I keep myself busy and I make myself aware that I needed to do something different. That caterpillar needed to become the butterfly. And my mission now has been able to help people to heal because I needed to heal, making myself well. Isn't that easy for everyone else? You be the judge of that because after all, isn't it your healing? You matter, whatever it is that you're going through. And somebody somewhere today needs to hear this. So when you cry because you're sad and people tell you don't cry, I say because what you're doing is releasing the unwanted feelings. You don't want to feel sad. Your body can only take so much. And that's why we are miracles in ourselves because our bodies can take so much. Our brain is remarkable when you think about a person who has been shot and some have survived it. When you think about the surgeries, person has brain surgery and they get recuperated to be able to walk again and recover things that was only normal to them now has become a challenge, but they learn it. What does that tell us about our healing process? That we can heal more. We don't have to live 10, 20, 70 with all of those unwanted. But some people don't know where to begin. You start with one at a time. There are ranges of emotions to a little anger to big explosive anger. Our emotions fluctuate. Our feelings change. We must stay connected. I will be right back. We'll be right back with Trisha's treasures. Be right back. It's the Lion Podcast. It's the lions. It's the lions. We are back. it's time for Trisha's treasures.
Unwanted emotions made me think about the backpack that I drew when we had, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, the backpack that I drew about the loads that we carry and what does it look like when it's so heavy. And I drew, it's on our expressions through art. I drew a backpack and it had a lot of books in it and a broken strap. Those of you who know, you know the times when you were in school and you had to carry all those books in your backpack and all of a sudden the strap just pops out of nowhere. I've been there so many times and that's how unwanted emotions make me feel. It feels like a load that you think the load that you're carrying, the straps that are holding that boulder, because that's how it feels. The straps that are holding that boulder up are sturdy enough and steady enough to keep it from popping and getting from out of your control. And then all of a sudden, something unexpected happens, and the straps just slowly pop off. And you're wondering, how can I keep it together? What am I supposed to do to keep everything together? Because I thought I had it together, but all of a sudden, the ropes, the straps, they're not sturdy anymore. What can I do? And I've asked myself those questions before. And what I learned is through this podcast, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion, I have to face the lion. I have to face the challenges because the loads do get overbearing, they get overwhelming, and sometimes things are out of my control and I can't hold them any longer. And I've learned that it's better for me to admit that before things get out of hand when it's too late. Meaning when things start spiraling out of control and you're so confused that you don't know what to do. You're confusing emotional stability. What I mean by that is you're wondering, I've been in the situation before where I got so mad that I didn't even know that I was mad. Does that make sense? I didn't
Makes a
even know
lot
that
of
I was
sense.
I didn't even know that I was mad. I just started crying and everything that came from years ago started like piling on me. It felt like a mountain falling on me. And I was wondering, where is this coming from? This situation has nothing to do with what happened 10 years ago, but the situation triggered something in me. It triggered a past feeling that I did not address, a part of the load that is poking out of the bag. It's popping. We can see it. It's right there. And I realized that as I said was I needed to address the unwanted emotions. Like I discussed earlier, I don't like to feel anger. I hope no one wants to feel anger on a regular basis. I don't like to feel sad. Anxiousness, it cripples me. I don't like it. Um Sometimes I'm anxious before I get here because I don't want to be late. Because I don't want to be late, and that's nobody's fault but mine because I have so much. I put pressure on myself. I put that load on me because I want to be on time because I care about this podcast, and then I start overthinking. If I'm late, then that means I don't care about it, and that's showing that I don't mean what I say when I'm on here, and I start overthinking, and then the unwanted emotions start building up, and I'm wondering, wait, where's this coming from? Why am I so anxious? Calm down. I tell myself to calm down. And that's another thing too. The unwanted emotions, for me, I needed to have something to calm them down, to tell myself, okay, you're going through an unwanted emotion right now, but how do you get out of this? How do you like we talked about, the things that we don't want, we throw it away because it's useless. We don't need it right now. We don't need it anymore. It's not nothing. It doesn't serve a purpose. How do I throw it away? And that's something to also think about when you're going through unwanted emotions. So, for everyone who's going through an unwanted emotion, I hope that you find something, a remedy, a comfort, something that's healthy for you to deal with those emotions.
Thank you for that. Such beautiful words. Trisha's Treasures can be found on our YouTube page and is affiliated with Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. And you can check her out on YouTube as well as her inspirational music. Check it out. How do we heal? How do we get well and be well? Think about acknowledgement. When you're acknowledging the emotion or the feelings, when you are processing your feelings, and when you're engaging in talking about your feelings, it's part of your self care. And that's what the Healing Center is all about. Seeking support if and when you need it. We want you to be able to put your wellness as a purpose. You are worth it. I want to thank Trish, my amazing host. I'm hoping each day that you're feeling better. I know you've been dealing with illness. I want to thank you as the amazing audience. And I want to thank most of all those who have supported our Vibe Talk Facing the Lion, the Healing Center. My goodness. We want to just make one announcement so that you all are aware that even if you don't live in our community, okay, that you can still be tied into the Healing Center by via video. If you have Zoom, if you have a video for Facebook, Instagram, you can use that. But I will not take a WhatsApp because I want to see you and I want you to see me. And I take the Healing Center very seriously. I cannot stress enough to get well, be well, and stay well. And this today is unwanted emotion for Wednesday Wellness. Have a good day. I wish you. Because I don't want you just to make a resolution.
I was really about to lose it, then I got the vibe with it. I really took my time with it. I really love the ride with it. Me and you really got the vibe with it. I took my time with it.